Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I want to share with you guys my latest book haul. As always, I want to start with my Book of the Month choice. Book of the Month is a monthly subscription service. They give you 5 books to choose from. You pick one, they send it to you. I've been really enjoying it a lot, so I would highly recommend it if you like getting new books and you like to know what book you're going to get. I think it's been great. But anyway, that whole spiel aside, this month I chose Calypso by David Sedaris, and this one is a little different. It's nonfiction, and I think this is something new that they've been offering. I think in the past they've mainly been offering fiction books, and in the last couple months they've also started including some nonfiction on there as well, so that's kind of exciting. But anyway, so this one is autobiographical, and I guess the author is telling us some stories of, some experiences in his life. And apparently they're both really funny, but also really thought-provoking and interesting. And when I was looking this book up on Goodreads, it has such a high rating. It's like 4 point something. I would say a very common thread of these comments were about the author himself and how much they just love his work. And it was very evident that there's such a devoted fan base for David Sedaris, and I've never heard of him, so I'm very intrigued and excited to finally read one of his books, I guess. Apparently he's very popular and well-known, and I'm just really late on this train, so I'm very excited to pick up one of his books. I'm also very curious to find out what Calypso is in reference to, because at this point I'm not sure how that relates to the book. But I'm very excited to have that in my collection now. Something a little different from my other Book of the Month choices. Moving right along. The next book that I hauled is You Are a Badass: How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and to Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero. I think this title pretty much just says it all, why this book sounds so awesome, to be honest. As you can probably tell, this is one of those self-help books. Obviously we all have some room to grow and to get better and just become better humans, honestly. And that's why I want to read this book. I'm hoping to, have some my own personal growth, and I'm hoping this will help me. And I think that the title of this book really just says it all as far as the writing style and just how down to earth and just honest she's going to be, and I just really appreciate that. I don't want to jump through all these hoops. I just want whatever advice you have for me. And honestly, I think this book is gonna do that. So I'm very excited for this. Plus, I've seen this around quite a bit, and it seems to be pretty popular. So I'm hoping that means it's some good advice as well. Alright, the next book that I hauled is Every Day by David Leviathan. And I heard about this book because of the movie trailer, and I'm very intrigued to see how he deals with this kind of story. So the premise of the story is that our main character wakes up in a new body every single day. So it's kind of like Quantum Leap, if you've ever seen that show, which is, I just love that show, by the way. Anyway, so like Quantum Leap, they're in someone else's, not only their body, but their life as well. They wake up in, their bed and their house with their family, and obviously no one's the wiser that this is someone else, because obviously why would you suspect that someone is in someone else's body? That's not a thing that happens. So this person who's inhabiting someone else's body just kind of pretends to be that person and just kind of lives their life. Now, a difference from Quantum Leap is that in this story anyway, they only have one day in this person's life, and then the next day they wake up in someone else's body and life. Which to me, this is such an interesting premise. I'm so curious to see how it's done. I really hope that it's more than just a romance, because I know based off of the trailer that it's kind of a romance story, which, to be honest, is not really my thing. I hope that we get into some of these issues that would obviously rise from having to live like this. I want to know what this life is like. And obviously this romance that does happen is obviously very complicated because of the situation. So there's a lot of really interesting twists already kind of built into this this plot, and I'm very just intrigued to see how it's done. So we shall see. I am very intrigued by this idea. And also, this edition apparently has 6 additional chapters, so bonus. All right, so the next book I hauled, I also found at Goodwill, and I was just like so happily surprised to find it there and in great condition, was Heartless by Marissa Meyer. And this is the hardback that has this amazing cover underneath the dust jacket, even on the back too. It's like a playing card, and I love it. If you don't know, Heartless is a fairy tale retelling, but of the Queen of Hearts. So it's the villain from Alice in Wonderland. And I believe, and I could be wrong, but I think that we're going to get the Queen of Hearts' story before Alice ever comes to Wonderland. So it's kind of like a prequel, and probably also kind of similar idea to like Wicked. If you don't know, Wicked, it tells the story of the Wicked Witch of the West before she became the Wicked Witch of the West, like before she became evil, you know, just when she was the Witch of the West, I guess. And you find out her backstory and kind of why she becomes evil and all of that. That's what I know about this book. So I could be wrong on the exact details, but that was always my understanding of what this book is. I'm very intrigued. I loved the Lunar Chronicles. The plot and the characters, it was just all really fun. And I'm hoping that I'll just enjoy this book as well. And as far as I know, this is a standalone, so I'm also very intrigued to read a standalone from Marissa Meyer and see if it's better, or, you know what I mean? I'm just very curious to see how she does a standalone. I'm just very excited to have found this. It was just such a happy accident. I love it. Okay, so the next book that I hauled is called Freedom by Jonathan Franzen. And I will be perfectly honest and say that I found this book at Goodwill, and I recognized it. Like, I know that I've heard people talk about it on BookTube, but honestly don't know anything about the plot. Now, the back of this book that has a little bit of a synopsis is pretty vague, which I appreciate as a reader, but apparently it's supposed to be both funny and tragic, and it's going to talk about a whole bunch of different things, but it sounds like we're following this married couple, and we're getting to see their mistakes and their joys, it says. So I think honestly it's just going to be kind of an exploration of these characters and their lives and just the struggles and just their everyday experiences in their lives, which obviously has some good and some bads, and life is just a crazy experience, and I guess we'll get to kind of glimpse their journey. Alright, the next book that I hauled is Let the Great World Spin by Colin McCann. And again, I don't know a whole lot about this book, but I have heard about it. I know people have talked about this on BookTube, and again, it just seems to be a very popular book that keeps coming up, and I'm intrigued. There's this person on a tightrope between the Twin Towers, and I think they're doing some kind of performance. I will obviously have to say that this takes place in the 70s, hence why that's even possible. And I don't think it's really about that, though. Like, I think that we're going to be following other characters' stories. Like, I think we're going to have several different distinct stories within this book. I'm assuming they're going to intersect in some way, or in some way be connected, but that's kind of my understanding of this book. So I'm intrigued, and like I said, I've heard lots of people talk about this book, so I'm just very curious to pick it up myself. And again, I found it at Goodwill, so it was very cheap, and it's in great condition, and I'm just really intrigued, so I had to get it. So there you have it. Alright, the next book that I hauled is called And Another Thing by Ian Colfer. And on the top here it says part 6 of 3 as far as the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So this is kind of a continuation, I guess, of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was obviously written by Douglas Adams, and this is a different author. So in some sense, it's kind of a fan fiction. Douglas Adams is a hilarious author, and I haven't quite finished Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, like the entire series yet. But I have started, and I really love it so far. And I've also read Artemis Fowl, which Ian Colfer wrote, and I am also really enjoying that series, even though I haven't finished it yet. And thinking about this and these two authors, I can see how this could work. Like, I do see some similarities in their writing styles. Obviously, they're still unique and different, but I can see how Ian Colfer could kind of mimic Douglas Adams style. I don't know if he's going to try to really just go for it and be as Douglas Adams-y as possible, or if he's going to, you know, put his own flair into it and just kind of make it his own. I'm not really sure. But I do think that both of these authors have the humor in their stories, but I do think that both of them use the humor not only just to be ridiculous, but also to say something. Like, I think that there's the deeper meaning behind some of the humor as well. And I see that in both of their works. So I can see this working. Anyway, so I enjoy both of these authors quite a bit. So I'm very excited to kind of see this interesting cross-section of their work. So there is that. All right, so the next two books I'm going to share in tandem because I have just like a funny little happy accident thing I wanted to share with you. So I got these at Half Price Books along with a couple other books, and when I got them I didn't realize that they were both written by the same author, but they are. And I just think that it's just a funny random thing that I didn't even realize until after I got home and I was looking at it and I was prepping for this video that I realized that they were both written by the same author. I just think that is just like, wow, I cannot believe I went through the entire story and I didn't realize that. Anyway, so the first book is the book that I didn't know who the author was. I just got it because of the title. I've heard of this book, but I obviously have never read it, and I was just really intrigued. It seems to be very popular, and that would be Telegraph Avenue. And the author in question is Michael Chabon. And yeah, so like I said, I didn't know that this was who it was written by, to be honest. I heard about this book years ago, actually, when it first came out, and it seems to be a book that people really like who have read it. I really don't know anything about the plot of this book as well. This seems to be a common theme in this haul. I think that it's kind of similar to some of the other books I mentioned, just in the sense that it really is about, I believe it's a couple even, that they own this record store, and obviously they kind of have their ups and downs and struggles that they're dealing with that are obviously unique to them and their story, but it's ultimately about the journey and just the experience. And I think it's going to have some really important, interesting, thought-provoking themes in it as well, and just be an interesting, well-told story. So that's what I hope to get out of here, but I don't know the specifics as of right now. But I'm intrigued, and like I said, I've heard good things about it. So there's that. And then the other Michael Chabon book that I picked up is called Manhood for Amateurs. The Pleasures and Regrets of a Husband, Father, and Son. This is nonfiction, and it's autobiographical. And again, as I was prepping for this video, I kind of realized that this is in some senses similar to Calypso by David Sedaris. Like, they're both autobiographical, and I believe anyway that this one, it will just kind of be a collection of stories and his experiences of his life and what he has experienced. Obviously his focus is on manhood and what that has been like for him and his experiences in these different roles in his life. I don't know the exact specific focus of Calypso. I'm sure there's a overarching theme, but again, kind of a similar like genre, I guess. So lots of really interesting connection between the books in my hauls, which obviously are completely arbitrary and random, but it's just kind of fun. Also, we'll just have to say that this also has a great book underneath the dust jacket. So yeah, that's really fun too. And also, I should mention too, Telegraph Avenue has, it's just kind of a little different, so it's this very shiny gray. And so there's a hole in here for the little record part, and so then underneath it looks gray. It's just kind of fun. Also, which you probably noticed, but there's a hole as well in the Manhood one. So he clearly likes to put holes in his covers, which is just a random thing I noticed as well. So I'm not sure if he has any choice in what the dust jacket looks like, but I like that they both have holes in it. I just think it's kind of fun. And then the last book is actually a spoiler for my Bookie Box unboxing video. So I'm going to share with you the book that came in the box. So if you want to fully experience the Bookie Box unboxing video I did, you can obviously check it out. I will link it down below. I really enjoyed the Bookie Box. There's so many fun items in there. And yeah, I get a book in there as well. So I'm going to share with you the book because obviously I got it this month. So it is very fitting for my haul. Okay, so the book is The Savior's Champion by Jenna Morici. I'm just not a huge fan of the cover. Obviously, to each their own. But I will say, one good thing about the cover is I think it's very appropriate for the themes of the book. I mean, this involves a tournament to the death, so I think it's very appropriate that we have these bloody hand smears. The premise is that this is a fantasy, and there's this realm, is what they call it, and there's a ruler of the realm, and she is of age to get married. And there's a tournament to see who will win her hand. And our main character, Tobias, decides to enter the tournament, but not because he's interested in, like, actually, like, marrying her. Like, he's not in love with her. But he is interested in saving his family, and I'm not exactly sure how, but if he wins the tournament, he will save his family. So that is a good thing. So yeah, he chooses to enter this very dangerous tournament in order to save his family. So it's a good motivation. I will also like to note that I think it's the first book in a series, and I don't know if you can see this either, but on the spine there, in the bloody smear, there's a Roman numeral 1. So I think it's the first book in a series, which will be interesting. And I think important to note, because I think it's important when you read a book that's the first book of a series to know that, because obviously it's not going to fully wrap up the story because there's more to come and they want to get you excited for the next book. So I think it's important to know that going in, otherwise you might be kind of disappointed by the ending. But yeah, so there you have it, The Savior's Champion. And there you have my book haul. And as always, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts and feelings on any of these books that I have hauled this month, so please let me know down below. And as always, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and until next time.